Hello, my name is Dennis Serrette, and I serve as Executive Vice President and Chief Development Officer at the National Urban League. It is my pleasure to introduce this launch of Philanthropy in Action, a conversation and dialogue with leaders that support the Urban League across the country. And so this first episode, we are launching with our board chair, Tim Murphy, who serves as Vice Chair of Mastercard and has also since 2019 served as a board chair of the National Urban League Board of Trustees. So we're excited about this launch, we're excited about him, and I'm excited about this dialogue. So I'm excited today. I'm excited today because we are launching Philanthropy in Action, and I get to do it with the chair of our board since 2019, Tim Murphy, who also serves as Vice Chair of Mastercard. And so for us, Philanthropy in Action is an opportunity for us to speak to our partners about philanthropy in general and their organization's commitment to it, as well as why they support the National Urban League. So for me, it is a privilege and pleasure to start with you. Thank you so much for being here and agreeing to participate.
Oh, Dennis, thank you very much for your friendship and for those kind words. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here and to celebrate the Urban League.
So you have a great story. Right, you have the Urban League story of all Urban League stories, and I would love it if you shared it.
Sure. So I think it goes back to why did I get involved in the Urban League, and it really was, there were two reasons. One was I was at the time the general counsel of Mastercard, and our policy team reported to me, and they were looking for a partner in the United States to work with to help drive some of our social impact work. And then for us, not so much our partner, to turn that into a positive story to policymakers about the contribution we make to the US economy. And they chose the Urban League. And Sean Miles was running our team at the time.
That's right.
And I want to honor Sean for making the choice. But he came to me in one meeting at our headquarters in Purchase, New York, and he was clearly prepared to make the case for the Urban League. And he was clearly prepared for me to say no. So he was ready for some pushback. And I knew what the meeting was about, and I said, Sean, let's do it. You don't even have to talk, I'm ready and I'm in. And I had that view because the Urban League is actually a huge part of my wife's family's history. So I've married into a family of Urban Leaguers. My wife Mandy's grandfather was Jim Lennon, who was the chair of this board in the 1960s, was an important partner of Whitney Young, and Mark calls him out. Mr. Lennon, I never met Mr. Lennon, he passed before I met Mandy, but he was a first-generation Urban Leaguer in terms of the 1960s civil rights movement, and a corporate leader. He was then the president of Time Inc., seeing the impetus and the importance of corporate participants in driving America's essential civil rights agenda. And then Mandy's uncle, who I have met, and he was a wonderful man, John Lennon, was the vice chairman of Amex for a time, and was on the board and later chaired the board at the time when Mark was appointed. So there is a great legacy in my wife's family, actually 3 generations of Urban League participation. My mother-in-law was an Urban Leaguer in Connecticut, and so to me, that family always told stories of their participation in the Urban League with great pride and with real conviction. And so I wouldn't say grew up with that, but my whole married life, that was part of the narrative. And so when I had a chance to serve on the board, I was like, yeah, done, we're in. We're in.
See, hard decisions, hard choices. I love that, and we brag about that because it's
you
not
do.
often. Yeah, we do.
And sometimes Mark forgets that I married into this family. It's not my family, but nonetheless, all good men marry up, and that's true in my case.
And since I know Mandy, yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
So Mastercard has been a tremendous partner in support of really driving the way we think about our work. And so you have supported workforce development, you've supported entrepreneurship. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So why would Mastercard want to work with the Urban League in the first place? So our company is a payment network that helps to drive the modern digital economy. We've grown enormously over the years. We are global right around the world. We export services from the US to over 180 countries. And we're one of the platforms that helps the economy that we know today to thrive. And just think, you can use your little plastic card anywhere in the world or online, and to enable the life you want to deliver. And so we have always grown when middle classes grow. And as you look at the world today, we have just a fundamental deep business conviction that the more people we can bring into the digital economy, the more growth we can have over the long term. And if you then have that conviction, you realize quickly that finding ways to provide access to financial services for underserved consumers becomes a key driver of growth. That has a variety of different flavors around the world. There are some economies where there are still literally billions of people without access to basic financial services. So we do particular work in India and Africa and in Latin America on those issues. In the United States, while many people have access to a banking account, the reality is in African American and Black communities and Latino communities and so on, many people, even if they have access to some form of an account, are underserved in critical ways. They're still stuck in the cash economy. And so we really have a growth agenda around how can we help drive business with those consumers, bring them into the digital economy, give them the same secure payment vehicle that you and I just assume is a birthright, right? And that's where the Urban League can be so helpful. Why? Because while the Urban League does many things, it drives relationships with corporate America, it is a critical leader in the national conversation on what kind of country we want to be, but it also is in 90 cities around the country, and I've obviously learned this very well, a direct provider of social services in the most needed communities, economic first responder, to use Mark's terms. And so that's a natural partner for us to find places to deliver those kinds of contributions. Some of it is in payment services, a lot of it's in data as well. You know, we are working with Urban League affiliates around the country. This is Mastercard, giving them analysis about places to invest. And so I just think that there was a natural connection point because of the scale of the Urban League, the fact that it is both national and local, and that it's in the most underserved communities where we think we can add real value from a social impact standpoint.
And I appreciate that in such a huge way. And I love the alignment in the work that we're doing. And you've even gone further because Mastercard created the Mastercard Center for
Inclusive growth,
right? And in that, they have become a partner with the National Urban League and also building something that we have never truly had, and that is the Whitney M. Young Jr. Center for Leadership, which is something that we really feel could solidify how we deliver services across this country in the affiliate, in the communities that we serve. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I have been so excited to be with you on the journey to now have back in Harlem the Empowerment Center open and thriving, a major contributor to this vibrant neighborhood, and the Urban League now doing what it has preached for decades, which is owning its own home and doing it in a way that it was incredibly inclusive, housing and community engagement and retail. And so just it's been a fabulous achievement. I'm really proud of you and Mark and the whole team for getting it done on time, on budget, for any nonprofit, a big undertaking. And Dennis, you were a major leader in that. I'm just really grateful for your leadership. But we don't do a lot of work from a Mastercard standpoint in sort of capital projects, bricks and mortar things. That's different sort of businesses. But what we do believe deeply is that if you can teach a person to fish, then you can eat for a lifetime, right? And so we were thinking about how we could play a constructive role in connection with this incredibly exciting new building. And we came quickly, and this was conversations you and I were having to, look, the power of the Urban League is its scale. It's the fact that it is in 90 cities across the country. And growing. You and I are going to be at a board meeting later today where we add more affiliates into the network. And the way to make impact work is obviously through people. I have just a deep conviction. Everything comes down to people at the end of the day. There's no technology, there's no process, there's no platform that's not fundamentally run by people. And so the way to help those 90 affiliates be more effective in the work that they do so more Americans can have equal opportunity, more can be lifted up, and frankly, we can see more inclusive growth and financial inclusion, which is what we're interested in at Mastercard. Well, the way to do that is to lift up affiliate leaders. And I think it's very easy for leaders to build bricks and mortars. It's much harder to build teams and systems that work and perpetuate themselves over the long time. So we just have a deep conviction that helping to lift up affiliate leaders is the way the Urban League movement can continue to grow and thrive in, look, some very challenging environments, because the reality is supporting people in need and doing job and workforce training, these are sort of ladder programs that have wide support among both parties. And that's what we're excited about. We need in the United States an economy where there's no single person left behind, where every single human being has the opportunity to thrive to their greatest potential. Urban League is helping to do that. We want to help the Urban League do its work. The best way to do that is through the work that we're doing together.
No, I love that, and you know this has been a passion. It was one thing to build a building, and that's always wonderful to build a building. And
yeah.
It's still brick and mortar.
Not just a building, a great building. You built a great building.
And even the chairs that preceded you, there was a commitment to making sure that it wasn't about the building.
Yes.
It was about what we were delivering
Correct.
throughout this country.
Yep.
Right? It was about making sure that we could deliver, we can continue to serve. So a lot of that was how do we understand our baseline of who we're serving and who we're not serving, and how do we connect into those communities to expand it. And so through the center, that's my passion, that's my excitement. And when I think of legacy, that's the legacy. So I can't thank you enough as an anchor partner in helping you realize that dream.
Well, we've got a lot of work to do, right? We've got to make it work. We've got to show impact. We need some more partners to come in. So if you've got some money, we'll take it. Thank you very much. But it's on its way, and I think it's going to do great work over the next decade.
Beautiful. So, personal story. All right, from you in terms of philanthropy. We know your wonderful Urban League story, but share a story about your just philanthropy commitment, something you've done, something that connected to your passion.
Sure. So my wife and I obviously support the Urban League as one of our fundamental causes. We believe deeply in education. We've supported the high school that I attended that transformed my life and let me see the great opportunities in the world in places where I could make a contribution. And we've been inspired by all of that. I'll tell you though, I want to keep coming back to, obviously we're wearing the pins today. I want to come back to the Urban League in that what you find in life, if you approach it, I think, with a sense of gratitude and respect for what you don't know, is that when you sign up to serve an organization like the Urban League, you realize actually that you get much more back than you give. Notwithstanding that you work as hard, Dennis, and Mark works his board hard, and we're going to have a board meeting later this afternoon where we'll talk about some really important things. What I have enjoyed, what I have been most inspired by in my engagement with the Urban League is really two things. First is simply extraordinary human beings, just great people who lift you up, who lead with gratitude, who have such a generosity of spirit. And Mandy and I have both felt at every Urban League conference incredibly welcomed, and there's a real sense of sort of shared commitment and sort of love in the room. And we've just met some amazing colleagues, friends now from around the country. So the people is the first thing. But the other thing really is what we experienced a little bit this morning at conference here in Cleveland, which is if you're engaged in the Urban League over a period of time, you have a front seat at one of the most profound conversations you'll ever listen to and hopefully participate in, which is what kind of country does the United States want to be? This is a place where that conversation happens. Yes, on race and relationships among the races, but on economic growth and on the kind of economy we want to drive, and on foreign policy and on our relationships with the wider world. I've learned so much from Urban Leaguers in thinking through this. I've been challenged in my own thinking. You know, we all only know the communities we live in, and so the chance to sort of bridge divides and learn from other people and to be part of this incredibly powerful conversation where the Urban League continues to do what it's always done. Among its many missions, it holds up a light to what the kind of nation we want to be and calls out with clarity where we still have room to go, and we still have room to go. That dialogue is, I cannot tell you how profoundly important and inspiring that's been to me.
And this is why you had to help us launch this. It had to start with you, because I couldn't think of a better dialogue and better conversation and better understanding of the value proposition and connection to the work that we do on the ground, but how it connects to the larger and broader community. So I just want to thank you for your time, your energy, and of course, always your leadership.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and your friendship.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Be good.
All right, absolutely.
Thanks.
We are concluding our first episode. I can't wait to launch. I can't wait to bring other partners in. I can't wait to really connect the dots to others who share their stories about why this matters so much. If we're going to make the change that we're seeking in this country, it is only with a collaboration, a coalition of partners who see and understand the value and why it's so important. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.